What is a real estate appraiser? In order to answer that question, we're going to cover basic definitions, what is an appraisal, the types of appraisers, the purpose of an appraisal, and then finally, what can be appraised. My name is Trevor Hubbard, and I have experience appraising a wide variety of uses, including residential and commercial. I'm an adjunct professor at the University of San Diego, and I'm a senior review appraiser at the United States Navy and Marine Corps. Finally, I teach at the Appraisal Institute, and I'm a designated member holding the MAI, SRA, and AIGRS designations. I would like to reach the largest audience as possible and continue to make videos like this one, so if you could hit the like button at the bottom of the screen for the YouTube algorithm, as well as subscribe to my channel, I would be absolutely grateful. Now, let's jump into some of the terms you might hear an appraiser use in their everyday language. The first definition I think we should cover is the subject property, which is defined in the Dictionary of Real Estate Appraisal as the property that is appraised in an assignment. An example I would give would be if you hired an appraiser to determine the value of your home, then it's your house that the appraiser would refer to as the subject property. They might also use the term the subject for short, which just means the same thing. Another definition we should cover is the comparables, which is defined in the dictionary as a shortened term for similar property sales, rentals, or operating expenses used for comparison in the valuation process. In general, that's just going to refer to as the market data or all the data that an appraiser might use in the valuation process. An example I would give would be if an appraiser was asked to determine the value of an office building, then they might go out and try to look for sales and transactions of other similar office buildings. That data would be referred to by the appraiser as the comparable data, or perhaps the comparable sales, or they might even shorten it as just the comp. Another really important definition is the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, which is a document that is published by the Appraisal Standards Board under the Appraisal Foundation. You are going to hear that term used for short as USPAP by appraisers, and it is incredibly important to the appraisal profession in America because every licensed appraiser must follow those basic standards. You can obtain a copy of that at the Appraisal Foundation's website. Although the profession is described as real estate appraisers, the precise terminology is actually real property appraisers, which is defined by USPAP as the interests, benefits, and rights inherent in the ownership of real estate. To recap, appraisers are qualified to appraise tangible items such as the land and the improvements such as buildings, as well as the intangible items such as a proposed lease or a proposed easement. An appraiser is also defined by USPAP as one who is expected to perform valuation services competently and in a manner that is independent, impartial, and objective. In order to remain independent, impartial, and objective, an appraiser cannot be an advocate, unlike other professions that legitimately should be advocates, such as attorneys, who are supposed to be advocates for their clients. Now let's talk about the first topic, which is what is a real estate appraisal? Anything can be appraised, from the air in your lungs to the artwork on your mantelpiece to real estate. And I think the best definition of an appraisal comes from USPAP, which is defined as the act or process of developing an opinion of value. The operative part of that definition is developing an opinion. And the reason why that's important is because only a human being is capable of developing an opinion. The appraisal profession is going through significant change because ever increasingly sophisticated algorithms are performing evaluations on real estate at an ever increasing rate. However, it is important to note that a computer is an inanimate object and therefore incapable of performing an appraisal as defined by USPAP. These algorithms are called automated valuation models, or AVMs for short, and they're typically used to save time and money by avoiding the appraisal process and an appraiser when it is anticipated that the subject property's value is below a certain threshold. The decision to use either an AVM or the traditional appraisal process is going to be decided based on risk. For example, the more complicated the subject property or the higher the anticipated value, the more likely that a traditional appraiser is going to be used. Real estate appraisals can be communicated to the client in many forms, including a verbal appraisal, a form appraisal, and a narrative appraisal. Regardless of how the appraisal is communicated, the appraiser must perform the same level of research and analysis. Based on the intended use, there are times that the client only needs a verbal appraisal, which is just going to involve the appraiser picking up the phone and communicating to the client what it is that they did in their scope and what their value conclusion was. The client may also request to have a form appraisal, which is what you would expect to see in the typical residential appraisal for a loan underwriting purpose. The appraisal report with the most detail is called the narrative report, and that's going to include a custom-made report for the subject property and the assignment, and it's typically performed for industrial properties, retail properties, and commercial properties. Next, let's cover the types of real estate appraisers. In general, there are only two types. There are residential appraisers and commercial appraisers. 4 licenses exist for real estate appraisers, including the appraisal trainee license, a licensed residential property appraiser, a certified residential real property appraiser, and then finally a certified general real property appraiser. An appraisal trainee is going to be someone who's new in their career, and they're going to be gaining experience by working under a licensed appraiser. A licensed residential real property appraiser is going to be someone who's qualified to appraise a non-complex assignment ranging between 1 to 4 units, including single-family homes, and has a value of less than $1 million in value. The next level up is going to be a certified residential real property appraiser, and they're allowed to appraise residential properties regardless of complexity, regardless of value, and they're going to be working on single-family homes as well as multifamily properties ranging between 1 and 4 units. The final license is going to be a certified general real property appraiser, and they're allowed to appraise everything under the sun, all property uses, regardless of complexity. This is the license I happen to have. So as you can see, there's a lot of licenses which depend on the appraiser's specialty. In general, there's going to be a fee appraiser and a review appraiser. A fee appraiser is going to own their own business, or perhaps an appraiser that's licensed is going to work for someone who owns their own business. And fee appraisers have many different kinds of clients, like individuals, corporations, and even government entities. A review appraiser is probably going to be working for a large organization, and they're going to understand the internal rules and regulations associated with that organization. And as such, they're probably going to hire fee appraisers to do the individual appraisal assignments that that organization requires. Once that assignment is completed, the review appraiser will then review that appraisal assignment to make sure that it met the standards that they require. In this next section, we're going to talk about the purpose of an appraisal, which relates to the objective of the appraisal assignment. There are many purposes for an appraisal assignment, including but not limited to transfer of ownership, such as buying or selling real estate, or determining the basis for a transfer for mergers and acquisitions. Financing and credit, such as valuing real estate when it is offered as collateral for a mortgage, or determining the basis for a decision to insure. Litigation, such as eminent domain proceedings, real estate litigation, or tax matters. Investment consulting or making decisions, such as financial reporting. Feasibility, such as determining when to rent versus buy, or determining when to keep a property as is or to renovate, identifying supply and demand trends, or consulting for policyholders or officials. As you can see, there are many reasons for a real estate appraisal. In this next section, we're going to cover what can be appraised. As I'm sure you can imagine, there are countless uses that real estate can be put to. All you need to do is look out of the window in a plane and you can see that there are dozens and dozens of different types of property uses. If a client calls an appraiser and asks them to value a property type that they might not be accustomed to appraising, then that appraiser will very likely refer that business to someone that they know specializes in that. A few of the uses real estate can be put to include residential, such as a single-family home, or a multifamily residential, such as an apartment or condominium. commercial, such as a parking structure, retail, such as a mall or a shopping center, industrial, such as a warehouse or a processing plant, land, such as agriculture, parks or open space, storage or easements, mixed use, which you would commonly see in a downtown area with a high-rise building that might have retail on the bottom floor and residential above, office, which you also might find downtown as a multi-tenant office tower, and then special purpose, which could include military use or a billboard along the highway. We only covered the general uses real estate can be utilized, but there are many other uses that appraisers can value. I hope this brief introduction answers the question, what is a real estate appraisal? Thank you so much for watching my video, and if you want to show your support, please hit the like button at the bottom and subscribe to my channel.